Today I'm here to bring you a tag video. It's been a minute since I've done a tag, and you know, this is one of my favorite tags. I did it a few years ago now, and I thought I would do it again as so much has changed on this bookshelf. Today I'm actually going to be doing the intimidating TBR book tag, which basically makes you reflect on your shelf and talk through books that you have been scared to read for various different reasons. I have my little book here full of all my answers, so without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in. So the first question is, talk about a book that you have been unable to finish. For me, this has to be The Romanovs by Simon Sebag Montefiore, and this isn't because I dislike this book. This is just a non-fiction giant book about Russian history, and I've just been kind of like slowly making my way through it. But it is one of those books I feel like, unless I've like picked it up and like, Reagan, you need to read some of this today, it's not one that I'm like, I'm gonna read that. So it's definitely taking me a long time. I've also started listening to Russian history podcasts, which has been a whole new experience for me, which has been awesome. So again, kind of one of the other reasons why I feel like I've been picking this up yet less. However, I'm really liking it, so I should pick it up more. The rest of the questions all have kind of the same lead-in, and that is, what book have you yet to read because ... And the very first one is because you haven't had the time. For this, I'm gonna go with Way of Kings. This is a book that's like on top of my I really want to read that book list, but at the same time, due to its size, I feel like I don't have the time to read it. It's this weird conundrum that I face. And I feel like it might also be a conundrum as a result of me being a booktuber. I worry about reading this and it being like the only book I read for the month. And I know a lot of people would say, that's fine, we don't care. But like, I need to read books for content. And if I only read one book for the month, it's a stressful thing, okay? So I feel like I just need to figure out the system in which I feel like I can read this comfortably and feel like I'm not using all my time to read it, even though I want to, but like I also have to think about larger picture things. Maybe if I like read it over the course of many months, I don't know. If you have a good system, let me know, but this is why I feel like time is the reason why I feel like I haven't read this book. Next question is, you haven't read it because it is a sequel. This, I'm going with the entire Raven Boys quartet. I've read the first two. I don't remember anything that happened, which means I need to reread the first two to finish this quartet that is not only beloved on BookTube, which also in its own way makes it slightly intimidating, but it's just like I feel like this is one of my last fantasy holdouts for YA fantasy. Like, everyone has read this but me, and I have to read like the whole thing, which is I guess a little intimidating, because I feel like if I read the first one I need to move on, otherwise I'm going to be in the same situation I'm in now, having to reread the first two books I've already read. So definitely the Raven cycle. Next up is, you haven't read it because it's brand new, and this book is pretty new. I wouldn't say it's like brand new, and that is Manhattan Beach by Jennifer Egan. This is one of the books I got in my Book of the Month box, and a book I really want to read, and I just haven't picked it up, and I was like, oh, it's brand new, I'll get to it really soon, and as the months are beginning to pass, it's becoming less brand new, and I'm having less of an excuse. This is Jennifer Egan's newest novel. I believe it's like a noir historical fiction involving New York and the mafia. It sounds really incredible. It has really great reviews. I don't know why I haven't read it. It's kind of long, and it is lit fic, which might be kind of feeding into that. I feel like I have been definitely in my comfort zone of reading really amazingly addictive YA fantasy, which I'm not, you know, apologizing for. I love to read those novels, but I feel like that's one of the reasons why this hasn't been picked up. Next up is, you haven't read it because you've read another book by this author and didn't enjoy it that much. For me, this has to be The Bone Clocks by David Mitchell. I have read Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell, and it's not that I didn't hate it, I just didn't love it. It was very neutral about Cloud Atlas, and because of my neutral feelings, I want to give him another chance, but I'm also not in a position where I'm like dying to read his next book, and I feel like that is why. Like, Cloud Atlas was good, I liked it, didn't blow my mind. I want to read The Bone Clocks. I hear it's better, and I hear people who didn't love Cloud Atlas, like my friend Max, really liked this, so I have a feeling I'm gonna like it. I just haven't been like in the rush to pick it up because of my initial David Mitchell feeling. Next is, you haven't read it because you just haven't been in the mood. For that, I'm going with The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I mean, this is by far and away one of the most intimidating books on my TBR. It's long, it's prolific, it's beloved, it is intense from what I hear, and I just feel like I need to be in the right mindset to pick this book up. And so far. I don't feel like I've been in that mindset, so I'm kind of ascribing that to be I just haven't been in the mood to read it. Hopefully soon that will change. I feel like this might be a really good buddy reading book, which I haven't done in a while, but I feel like if I put myself in a situation where I'm kind of forced to read it because I, made a commitment with another person, I'll be in the mood and I'll pick it up. Though I'm kind of matching it. Like, me and this book are kind of coordinating right now. Next up is you haven't read it because it's humongous. I have a lot of very large books on my bookshelf as a fantasy fan, but I'm going with The School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After by Sonan Chanini because I actually flew through the first books. I read them pretty closely back to back, and they're probably about like 450 pages a piece. And then I got to the third and final book, which is almost 700 pages long, and I just keep looking at it and I'm like, not today. Like, I've been putting it off purely because of its length. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna like it, but I'm like, that's such a long middle grade book. Like, I don't know if I'm ready to pick that up yet. And that is exactly why I've been putting this book off. This concluding novel, I need to get it together. I do. Next question is, it was a cover buy and turned out to have bad reviews. This, I'm going with The Egg and the Spoon by Gregory Maguire. This was a complete cover buy and setting buy. I basically looked at the cover, I was like, that's really cool. And then I read the synopsis and just saw Russian countryside, and I was like, well, I guess I'm buying this book. So I acquired it and then promptly looked it up on Goodreads, and it doesn't have bad reviews. It has a 3.6, which is like middling reviews, and I haven't really heard of anyone else I know on BookTube that has read this, and so I don't really know thoughts. So because of there's kind of like a lack of like amazing rave reviews, it just hasn't really been pushing me to pick this book up. If you have read this book and you really enjoyed it, please let me know. I feel like that will definitely push it to pick it up sooner rather than later. But it is a beautiful book, and I probably won't get rid of it anytime soon because aesthetics. And the last question is, what is the most intimidating book on your TBR? I just gotta give this to The Way of Kings. And this, I feel like, is my most intimidating book, not just because of the size, not just because of its popularity, but I also just feel a huge amount of pressure to just read it already. Like, I get so many comments every day being like, please read The Way of Kings, and I just feel like I'm failing everyone, and then all the pressure's in my head, and I just need to pick it up and just start it, because I feel like once I start it, things will be better and easier. I haven't yet, and I also feel like once I get past this, like, what will be my new book hurdle? Like, I'll have to find a new one. I'll have to like search for a new longer book to be like, I haven't read this yet. To be fair, it'll probably be Words of Radiance, the second book to The Way of Kings. Alrighty guys, that is the intimidating TBR book tag. Let me know down below some books that you've been putting off for various reasons. I would love to know. And I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye.